everybody. Welcome to today's episode. How are you, Honoree?
I'm fantastic. Like it's EBM week.
It is.
Lucas,
That's why I'm so excited.
kind of exciting.
Got to bring the energy today because we got EBM week today. For those that don't know what that is, you want to talk about it real quick?
Yeah, so EBM is the short for Empire Builders Mastermind. It's the mastermind I host for aspiring authors and authors who want to monetize their books and turn them into multiple 6- and 7-figure income streams. And what we're talking about is this is the end of 2022 this week and the kickoff for the class of 2023. So everyone is coming to Nashville for our kickoff meeting, and there will be eating and laughing and planning and strategizing, all the things.
I can't wait. It's like I start looking forward to the December meeting in the summertime.
Me too.
Yeah. Because it's like as soon as our June meeting is done, I can't wait to dive into the next year,
Yeah. You want to know something funny?
Sure.
I already signed the contract for next December's kickoff dinner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be there. So
excellent.
I'm planning ahead.
Me too. Me too, actually.
Yeah. By God's grace, I'll be there.
Yes. By God's grace, I will be there for sure.
So one of the reasons why I think that's such a great, like opening discussion, besides the fact that the Empire Builders Mastermind is so freaking cool and I'm in love with the program and I just have, had nothing but an outstanding experience since I got in it last year, is when I first met you and talked to you about it, I'm like, what do you mean I can have an empire? Like for me, it wasn't like a foreign concept, but I didn't really understand what it meant fully because I didn't have one and I didn't know anyone that had one. So, where did you come up with the concept of Empire Builders Mastermind, and what exactly can you have if you have an empire?
What can you have? You can have all the things.
All the things.
Well, the name of Empire Builders, and I think we probably talked about this in a different episode, but in case this is your first video, I was at an event where it was suggested to me that I should have a mastermind. And when I asked the person why, she said, because you have an empire and I want one. And what she was referring to and what I believe an empire to be is everything that you do for work that's all under your umbrella, right? So I have one big umbrella, and underneath the big umbrella are the little umbrellas, and underneath the little umbrellas are the littler umbrellas. And they're all income streams and they're all related in some way. They're either books or courses or programs of some kind that I have created. And so if someone is wanting to have an empire, they would design an empire in the way they would want to design it, right? So some people have empires that on one side, and so Chris Stransky is an example of this, right? He's EBM 21 and 22, and he wrote a book and has another book that's coming soon. And so he's got his intellectual property empire, a piece of his empire, which is the intellectual property piece. And then he's got real estate. So he does multifamily real estate investing. And so part of his empire is real estate investing. Part of my empire is real estate, but not investing, not in that way, right? Owning real estate, having real estate, in my mind, is different from being a real estate investor. So I don't have that particular focus in my empire. I don't know where I would find 15 minutes to do it. But my empire started with a network marketing business, building that first leverage stream of income, and then moving into coaching, and then moving into writing books, and then thus and so on and so forth, right? So what you can have in your empire, what you can have under your empire umbrella, is really anything that you want to have. There's no limit to what you can have. It's just deciding, A, I would like an empire, and then B, what's going to be in it, and then starting to put the empire in place. And I would be remiss if I didn't stick in this one final thing, and that's to have a long-term view of things, that you are not, if this is not get rich quick, this is not in and out, right? This is not get in, get your money, get out. This is now what you do.
Right.
It doesn't have to be like getting a degree and then working for 40 years until you retire. But if you love it, it doesn't feel like work. As long as you're doing it with having the long haul in mind, then you can't help but be successful. You just have to really stay in it long enough to see it get some legs.
I I was very curious about the potential that I would have with something like building an empire of, business product lines and different focus areas and all that stuff when I first got into EBM, because as a person who specialized in courses, my vision was, sorry, I'm knocking stuff over. My vision was only so far, right? I could only see, like, I love coaching. I do coaching. I do this around courses, and I'm an engineer and I own this training company in engineering. So to me, I was like, there's a lot of people who are like, well, you're not going to like expand, are you? Because then you won't be as focused. And I'm like, I don't know, am I? I really didn't know what was possible yet. And I thought it was imperative that I learn from somebody that had already done this, that already knew the right way to do this and the wrong way to do this, and had enough experience to guide me. Because I felt like as soon as I stepped out of East Partnerships, like confines, right, which aren't a bad thing, it's like had very well defined lines around that business. But the minute I started to step out of that, there's a little bit of like an unknown territory. And I'm like, is there risk here? And so I thought it was very good that you brought to everyone in the group, it wasn't just me, you brought elements that we could easily incorporate into what we were already doing to help us make that step in a natural, but also like relatively healthy way. It wasn't like we were just jumping into this big risky endeavor. And what I mean by that is, if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, well, to have an empire, you got to have 4 businesses. No, that's not the case, right? Although I do have 2.5.
And you don't have to do anything. You can have an empire that consists of one business.
Right.
In my mind, an empire is any number of businesses up in including one business that has multiple revenue streams.
Exactly.
And so even while we were sitting here, money is flowing, right? So it's like I'm getting revenue from something, I'm getting a referral fee from something, I'm selling something, right? Like just as we're sitting here, it's not income that I'm exchanging time for anymore. Some of the income streams I have set and they are still earning money. Some of my income streams I either set it or I forget it. So it's like, okay, I don't want to do that one anymore. I'm going to forget it. But if you build an empire that you own that does not own you, in my mind, that means that at least some of the revenue streams, you are not trading time for money. Empire Builders is a little bit of both for me, right? So it is an income stream for me, but I do trade time for the money that I receive, willingly so. This is like, it's one of the great joys of my life. I stopped doing coaching for a little while and missed it, and then had the opportunity to do a mastermind, which initially was no coaching. And then I realized for me to be an effective mastermind host, I needed to do a significant amount of coaching. So back to coaching, back to trading time for money, but eyes wide open, know what I'm getting into, knew what I was getting into, happy to do it. But I also have lots of other things that I don't have to give time to anymore. I've created them and they are earning me revenue, which allows me the freedom to do this other thing here that I love so much. So it's really it's a choose your own adventure, money-making style.
Right. And I like that you brought up that you could do that within one business. And I've kind of done this across 2 businesses, if you will. It's like, but they're not the same, right? So if you do have a foot in 2 camps, just realize that like you don't have to do the same thing in both. Like with East Partnership, I've actually streamlined the product line since I have more than one now, right? Whereas in Merino training, I've caused it to expand. And so you can manage both in different ways. And like you said, you step back and it's all one empire. And you can manage each of those product lines, each of those offers, services, everything in a very particular way, because it has to work for your business. It has to work for your lifestyle, right? So I think we were talking before the video started about some of the business implications of coaching. That was one of the bigger things with expanding my revenue streams that I found repeatable. I thought that was like, okay, so if I've already got this in place for one product, I've got this same process in place for another.
Yep.
I was
Yep.
able to use some
Yep.
efficiencies of scale there,
Right. Yep.
which is amazing, which means that it's less of a lift than if you were trying to stand each of these up by itself the first time every time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes. A lot of what we are doing, a lot of what I do is repetition. And we talked about the three-legged stool. Now it's not just a book. I look at everything now from a book, companion product, and potentially a course every single time. It will not be applicable for everything that I do in the future, but most things that I do will already have a course, or there will be a book and then a companion guide, workbook, journal, something like that, and a course to go with it, so that there's a path for people to go down. And then those are three streams of revenue, three main streams of revenue with little derivatives, right? Because you have an ebook, a paperback, and a hardcover, and an audiobook. So you have four streams of income out of one product. When I say three things, I actually mean book revenue, workbook or companion product revenue, and course revenue. And those are three streams out of which there could be multiples, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Can you have an empire without employees?
I have no employees.
Right.
I have no employees. I have a really wonderful bench of people that I engage on a project basis, but I don't want employees. I have already done that. And I think that there are two things that it occurs to me to mention with that question. One, you don't have to have employees, but you want to make sure that you are really specific and particular by not crossing over into any boundaries that would have the law consider them an employee.
Right.
So everyone that I hire for the projects are working on their own time in their own way. There's work for them to do, and there's money for them to make, and they will invoice me when they've completed their work, right? That's the first thing. A true 1099 employee, not employed by me, no benefits, but then also I get to teach them about the joys of having their own business. It's like, gee, if you buy a course, you can write that off, not in your job, but in your business. You can write off miles and all sorts of wonderful things, right? All under the law. I have a good CPA for that, right? Like, I don't keep track of all that. I have a CPA that manages all of that for me. So that's part of my team, right? Having a good accounting team is part of that. The second thing is that there's a huge drumbeat for scaling. There's this huge drumbeat for, well, I have 10, now I need to have 100, now I need to have 1,000. And you made a really, really important point, which is it has to fit your lifestyle. And as much as there is nothing that I do that feels like work, I love tremendously everything I do. Sometimes I do a lot of it all at the same time, and my little brain gets tired and I need to take a nap or a day of rest just to kind of replenish my creative stores. But every single day is just, I wake up and I'm like, I get to do this. I really wake up early and I'm excited to be building my empire. But I have built it not listening to the drumbeat of you must scale your business, you must scale your business. I know an awful lot of people that made $100,000 and then they went, oh, I'm going to scale. And I'm going to go from being a $250,000 business to being a $2.5 million business. And then guess what? They still only made $100,000. And if you can raise your top line, right, without increasing your bottom line commensurately, because when you add more people and more complexities and more products, you can also add in more commitments, time, money, energy, stress, all of those sorts of things. And you will then, in some ways, compromise your life, compromise your lifestyle. Not every time, not under every circumstance, but I just want to point that out because I think there are an awful lot of people out there that are like, scale, scale, scale. And they don't really talk about the underbelly of just doing this, Lucas. They just raise their top line and they raise their bottom line and they're not making any more money. But what they're doing is buying themselves a job, and they're working themselves out of freedom. So I certainly am glad that if I want to take off a random Tuesday, I can, that I can block off all my time. I don't work evenings, weekends, or holidays, except under special circumstances. I take a tremendous amount of time just to do fun personal things, not away from work, because I love working.
Yeah.
I write almost every day. I'm not taking time off of work because I need a vacation from my life. But I've worked hard enough to build something that I also have then the freedom, time, and money in order to spend time pursuing learning languages and traveling and catering to my dog's every need. Right. I mean, ultimately it's all about Rogue, Frappuccino, and Mr. Pickles, right? I mean, that's what it all comes down to. So I think that that's important when talking about an empire. People think I'm just going to trade this lock, right, for this lock over here, for this one situation, for this situation over here, except there is a misperception that having a job gives you security and being an entrepreneur is lack of security. And I would say I feel much more secure knowing that I can do whatever I need to do and I'll take care of business. But at any time, if you're an employee, someone can decide that you're not an employee today,
Yeah,
or tomorrow. And that has happened a lot. I encourage all my friends and they kind of roll their eyes at me, but I'm like, well, I know who you're going to move in with. You don't have enough money. Right. So, form an entity and build something on the side, have a side hustle, have something that you do, build a little mini empire, even while you're building someone else's empire, just in case, or just for walking around money. Right.
Yeah. I mean, potential, right? And there's 2 points there that you made that I love, and that's the fact that I used to hate it when people in the military would say, oh, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. I'm like, well, one, that like prescribes that work is bad, which work is not bad. I love my job.
Well, yes.
And two, even when I love it, it's still hard work and I enjoy hard work. It's good, but it's still work, right? Like I can't just do that 24 hours a day and just have this full life, right? So I love that you brought that up, because here's the thing that I really feel about being an entrepreneur that's different from when I wasn't. I have an option to work on a weekend or a holiday or on a day that I would normally have off. And I have the option not to work on a Wednesday. It's like you have options, and it's like you bought options when you decided to invest in building your own empire.
Yes.
And you're never going to abuse those options and still maintain a healthy lifestyle and a healthy balance, all that stuff. Right. So you find what's right and you find what works. And I just love that you brought that up, because I think there's this misconception out there. Like my dog is like opening the door and wants to come in and hang out now.
The dog heard I'm going to be catered to and I need to get in on this. Where's my TREAT?
Yeah. She's like, hey man, what are we doing? I think there's this misconception that like the entrepreneurs are like sleeping and like you could just go anywhere and work on your laptop. I mean, I've even had clients tell me like, I just want to be able to work from anywhere in the world on my laptop. I'm like, that'll be possible, but you're still going to be working a lot, right? Like,
yeah,
you're not laying on a beach for 7 days a week, And
I think if anyone were given the opportunity, and maybe I'm going to say this and then I'm going to go, that's dumb. But I don't know very many people that are intelligent and creative who want to just lay around. Like the few times that I have thought, I'm just tired. I've worked really hard. I've put out books, or I've done this, or I've done that. Like I've got 3 weeks and I'm just not even going to open my laptop. My husband's like, okay, sure. Right. Because he knows he sleeps later than I do, because he stays up later than I do. He knows when he comes out, he'll be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, nothing. Up in my office, there's nothing going on. Right. Not playing tiddlywinks. Right. He knows that it takes me about 6 or 7 days of not doing anything, of reading all the novels on my bedside table and kind of screwing around before like the ideas start popping. And so if I take too much time away from work, I end up giving myself even more work, because then I'm like, oh, I could do a course on this, and oh, I could write a book on this, and oh, I could do a group about this. oh, this will be fun. I'll do this with EBM, right? I mean, what happened when I went on vacation in the summer? I came back and we did EBMC, right? Like, surprise,
So,
brand new business.
yeah.
So I don't know anybody given the opportunity to have work that they truly love and enjoy. That does not mean it's not work. You make a very good point, right? That doesn't want to do more work, to make more of a contribution, to connect with more people, to provide more value to more people.
Yeah. So all I'm hearing here is that you can build an empire that lets you build what you can for you and for others.
Yep.
And you can increase your revenue streams. You can increase your impact. You can do all these great things. And it's because you make the decision to pursue that route in your business.
Correct.
And it's awesome if you design it to be awesome.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And
right.
and so design it to be awesome. And
Yeah.
if at any point it isn't awesome, guess what? It's your empire. Like I've done a number of income streams that I did for a while. And EBM was one of those things, right? I almost got to year 4 and then said, I'm not doing EBM anymore, but there was some pushback.
I'm not the only one, I'm sure.
No, but there was some pushback from the peanut gallery about the fact that it was meant to continue. And so I will say this, and you know this already. I said, okay, I will continue with EBM, but I'm going to make some adjustments because there are some things that I don't love about the structure. And I'm really big on fulfilling my promise, regardless of whether it's good for me. So if I make a promise and I'm paid for that promise, I'm going to fulfill that promise. And so the only way I could make changes was to say, I'm changing my promise. I think I've made it better.
Yeah.
Not just for me, but for the participants, right? But if you build something in your empire, in your business that you don't love, you guess what? You get to change it. You don't, you're not a tree. You can move. Right? It's your business. You make the rules. And as long as you fulfill your promise, then you can make changes. And that's okay. I had to really think about it. I had to really be like, well, I don't know. There's some of this I'm not digging so hard. And so if I were to love it even more than I did when I loved it at the highest amount, what would I do? And I just made a couple of little subtle changes and nobody had any problem with it. And I think that's what some people don't always realize, is that they can make a change and nobody's going to be upset about it. They're actually going to be just fine with you saying, this is how I want it to be good for you and me and everybody.
Well, I've obviously not been able to experience all those changes yet because we're just starting the next year. But I know that yes, it is going to be. I know that your intentions were in the right place and you're a person of action. So if you're watching this and you're hearing what Honoree is saying and you're going, oh, that's great that you have the ability to be able to do that. It's because she put the intent in place and then she's acting on it. And I think that's a really big note for anyone who's empire building, is that it's a lot of that. It's a lot of like planning and then exploring and then implementing and then implementing and then revising and implementing. And
like noticing, just like, Tony Robbins says, decide what you want to do, take massive action, see whether it's working or not, and either keep going or make adjustments, right? I mean, ultimately success is not, a math formula, thankfully.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
otherwise I would have failed.
now you'd have been fine. I think with like East Partnership, I decided to completely change my handling of the company, the way we approach things, that the way we got our revenue. I changed everything from, the first 2 to 3 years to the last 2 years of business with that particular entity. And it's been drastically better for me, to be honest. I mean, on all fronts, I enjoy working with those guys. I enjoy the work that they're doing. Is really important and it's really beneficial, and we're making more money than we were back then. So that's nice because it just sets, it's not because we're making money, but it's because it sets all the things at ease and it gives us resources to be able to do our jobs better. And like you were saying before, like now it doesn't feel the same. Before it felt like I really had to, like, I was like stressing a bit. And now I'm far less stressed with East Partnership than I was I mean, the first 3 or 4 years. I mean, even when I when I first met you, I was like, I don't know how all these things are going to turn out, but I'm optimistic.
That's right. Two thumbs
Everything's on
up.
fire around me.
Yeah.
It's like, it's going to be great, you know?
What you can't see off camera, there's nothing to see. It's totally fine. Yeah.
It's like, but you gave me the encouragement, like, hey, as long as you're putting the right pieces in place and you're working hard at them and you're doing things that are viable and well, you know, there's good intentions and you're serving people in the right way, you'll be fine. You just got to work with a little bit. And you know what? Sprinkle a little bit of that magic time dust on it, you know, because it takes time
Yeah.
and you get to see what comes of it. So, Honoree, this has been like really cool. Amazing topic. Uh, your ability to experiment with all of these different areas of your business over periods of time in a way that each of them has matured is really kind of the thing that's motivated me to not only explore and invest in those things as a business owner, but also to give them their appropriate amount of respect. Like, let them be, let them exist, let them happen. Keep investing in them, like keep nourishing them. It's a long road kind of thing. And for that, I think people could take a lot to learn. They could learn a lot from that, and I know I have. So thank you for being able to set that example for us.
Welcome. I've never done anything and then given up on it after 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or if I have, I saw what happened. Right. If it was either me or I observed someone else doing it. So now when like you put out a book and somebody puts out a book and then they put it on Facebook 3 times and then they go, didn't make me any money. It's like, your book's not an avocado. It doesn't go bad. I mean, unless it's literally like how to make the most of Q1 2023. It doesn't go bad. It's not dated material. It's evergreen material. And so if you just keep plugging away at it, you never know when it's going to turn a corner.
Yeah, especially if they built the book properly.
Yes, especially if you've got a quality book with great information.
Yep.
It's, you don't have to spend all day, every day mentioning, but don't go a week without mentioning it. Don't go 3 days without mentioning it. Don't go a month or 2 months without mentioning it. And if you have, then pick that kid right back up and start talking about it. There have been books that I have published and a few years went by and then I really had an idea like, oh, let me try this. And then I adjusted the sales a little bit and poof, there it went. I have a book that sold almost nothing in year 1 because guess what? Year 1 was 2020. It was a book for teachers. The Miracle Morning for Teachers did almost nothing the first year because teachers were in the middle of, we can't swear in our videos because this is a clean show, but it was a show, all right.
Full of things.
They weren't reading books on how to do things better. They were trying to survive. They were homeschooling their own kids and they were virtually schooling kids, right? And so I kind of just stepped back and I was like, this is not the time for me to be like, buy my book. This is amazing. But here we are in 2022 going into 2023 and the book is doing better and better all the time. I didn't give up on it, but I published it in 2019. If you give up on something, it's never going to meet its potential. If you just give it some time and then just keep revisiting it and have it in the back of your mind, at some point you could get really great traction with something.
Right. I've almost built that expectation into my products now where I never did that before earlier in my business. I'm like, I'm going to get this thing done and then we're going to start getting sales and this and that. Now I'm like, let me build it. Let me nurture it. And then over time, it'll happen, just keep working. It'll work.
Right. Yeah. Give it the time it takes and it will eventually come back.
Awesome. Well, this one was a hefty episode, but it was, I think, justifiably so because we had a lot to cover. The topic of empires. Well, empires are huge.
Right? Wow. Everybody wants an empire.
Yeah.
Right? So.
And for those people out there that are they're interested, right, in trying to do this for yourselves, do yourself a favor, find someone who's actually done it. They've done it well. They've done it consistently, and then work with them. Honoree was gracious enough to allow me to be in her mastermind in the
I would
EVM.
have thanked you. You just said yes before I said it. So
No, I was blessed to be invited, and it was the right thing to do. And for those reasons, it was the right thing to do. Right personalities, right mentor, right people in the group. Find that for yourselves, whether it be here with us, with Honoree's group, or with another group. But do the right thing for you and your business. And I think that you will find that this could be one of the more rewarding decisions you make in your life. So it's
yeah,
amazing. So.
having a solid mentor and a solid bench of people around you, especially if you're building an empire at home on your couch with your laptop or in your home office with your laptop, you spend a lot of time alone. And there's a lot of time for and I'm not going to keep talking, but there's a lot of time for the thoughts to go.
Mm.
And sometimes you need, someone to go get back to it. And sometimes you need to just talk something through with someone. Having a great group of people around you is really helpful.
Yeah. Or maybe you just need someone to tell you to stop working. There's times when I message Honorée and I'm like, I can't think right now. And she's like, you need to stop.
Stop working.
It's
Step
not a
away.
good thing that you can't think. All right. Well, thank you so much, Honorée. Thank you for sharing your experience with everybody. You guys know the drill. Like the video, subscribe to the podcast, like the episode, do all the things so that we can keep bringing you guys great content. And we'll see you in the next session. Bye.